Hi, Jan here with another vlog. I think it's October 9th today, it's Monday. And today I'm coming to you with a sad story. And I'm going to have to use code words here because I don't want to identify another party. But a couple of weeks ago I received an email from Nominet, who in the UK is the company that kind of governs the domain names and things. It's the main registry for domain names. And it was saying that I have a private domain name which I've had for donkey's years, and it's saying that somebody had queried my legal ownership of it. And the difficulty was that the people querying my legal ownership were a rather large law firm, which is worrying to start with. So if we say that, because like I say, I don't want to give out names here because then it identifies the other party, but if we say that my surname is Strawberry, then I had bought strawberry.co.uk, so it would be, my email address would be jan@strawberry.co.uk, and I've used that email address for 15 years or more, and my entire life is revolved around that. All my friends know me by that email address, all my accounts are set up for that email address. And then this I get this email from Nominet who say that that Strawberry Law Associates have put in a formal complaint, and they give me a copy of the complaint that they put in, and they said that they believed that strawberry.co.uk was owned by a holding firm that was then going to try and sell it to them at a great profit later on, and that strawberry.co.uk had also been used to contact their customers, their clients. They're a conveyancing law firm. So they were saying that this email address had asked their clients to pay entire house deposits directly to them, to whoever it was. So of course this completely panicked me, you know, especially because there's this huge team of solicitors. But shall we say Strawberry in the UK is not a common name. It's not common at all. In fact, if you find anybody else, you know, within the locality called Strawberry, and you talk to them, you'll probably find out that you're related to them in some way. So I did a little bit of research thinking, well, I have owned this for goodness knows how long, and I couldn't find the date that I actually first registered it, but I did find the date that they had first incorporated their company, and I knew that my ownership predated their company registration by at least 10 years. So I felt righteous indignation, and I fired off a letter back to Nominet saying that basically I had owned this legally for a lengthy amount of time. I didn't know the exact date, but it was the majority of this century. And you know, I had paid my biannual fee to use this address all of those years, and I had also looked up this firm on Companies House, so I knew when they were incorporated, and I said, you know, my use of this email address has predated their incorporation by probably about 10 years. And I also looked up the founder member of the company, shall we say Mr. Strawberry, and I found him on Facebook, and looking through his personal details, I found out when he was born. And I actually put in this letter that although I'm a Strawberry by marriage, it was my first husband's name, I had become a Strawberry in 1975, and Mr. Strawberry, the lawyer, wasn't born until 1978. So arguably I had been a Strawberry far longer than he had and had a greater right to use the name. And I also said that I have all the security that is advised on my computers. So unless any breach of security happened at the firm that I pay to use the email address, that I registered the email address through, unless the breach had happened there or at the law firm's address, then I failed to see how it was anything to do with me. And I would advise the law firm to go directly to the fraud squad at the police fraud squad, because, you know, if there is somebody fraudulently trying to represent their company, then they need to deal with, you know, that is surely fraud. I mean, you know, these are legal people. And, you know, I said, frankly, you know, I feel as because the Strawberry Law Associates had said to Nominet that they wanted Nominet to hand the name directly over to them so that it would then be owned by them and nothing to do with me. That's before I had replied. And you know, I said I feel that you know, there is this firm of legal people trying to bully me out of something that I rightfully own. So that letter or email went off to Nominet within hours of receiving the first email. And you know, and I've said that, you know, I'm just an old woman, you know, I don't know anything about all these things, and now I'm worried and I'm stressing about it. Please let me know what's going to happen as soon as possible. And they came back to me and said, well, we're now waiting for Strawberry Law to get back to us, and the step after that is mitigation. And I thought, well, I don't want to go to mitigation. It's not something that I need to discuss. I own it. You know, I have had ownership of this domain name for all of these years. So I've waited and waited and waited and waited, worrying about what was going to happen. And, you know, as I say, we are probably they wouldn't be, Mr. Strawberry wouldn't be related to me because I'm Strawberry by marriage, but he would be related to my children by blood. And I also have thought in the past that if I ever did want to hand the strawberry.co.uk over to somebody else, there is a nephew of mine who runs a motor business that I was going to say to him, do you want, because he's got Strawberry Motors, so do you want strawberry.co.uk for your business? So if I didn't want it myself, then I would see that it went to somebody that I knew within the family. But anyway, this has been a huge cause of worry and concern for nearly 2 weeks now. And then on top of that, I said to you the other day that I had received a bad feedback on eBay, because I sell things on eBay as a hobby. You know, it's nothing I'm not a professional. I don't do it as a full-time job or anything. And I had sent out a parcel to somebody, and the delivery company had marked it down as being delivered, but the customer said that the photo of the delivery, because nowadays, ever since the pandemic, when you couldn't actually speak to people at your front door, they will class it as delivered if they take a photograph of it at your door. Well, they took a photograph of it apparently at their next door neighbour's back gate, and you know, that's not anything that I can do anything about. So, but I had received a bad feedback for that. So I then went to eBay and said, you know, this is nothing to do with me and I want this feedback removed. And this morning I got an email through saying from eBay saying that the negative feedback that said this has been removed and has been replaced with a positive feedback that says item exactly as described, very happy, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know if they'd gone back to the customer who's now found the parcel and he now has it in his possession and he's very happy with it, and then wrote a glowing reference back, or whether it could possibly be that eBay had said, right, we're taking off the negative, we will just put in a generalised positive. But anyway, the good news is the negative's gone, the positive is on there, so my feedback rating remains the same. But then there was another email this morning from Nominet. And this time it was from Nominet, saying that the case has now been closed on the strawberry.co.uk, and it enclosed a copy of the letter from Strawberry Law Associates. Disappointingly not from Mr. Strawberry, it was from one of the associates, but stressing that they didn't mean to try and bully me, and they had thought it was a holding firm, and as far as they were concerned, they would not take the matter any further. And I thought, well, good, because where can you take it when I legally own it? But, you know, the thing is, even when you know that you're in the right by law, it doesn't always pan out that way. You know, I've read enough in the papers to know that sometimes people who are in the right get wrong done by them. So, but anyway, that's now dropped, it's closed, it's all wrapped up. I would have liked a personal apology from Mr. Strawberry, but I didn't get it. What can you do? But the thing is, you know, I woke up this morning and there were 2 bits of good news, so that was really good. And then I could calm down and think, oh, the world's a nice place again. Right up until this afternoon, when another eBay. Somebody wanted to return an item, and because I'm a private seller, I'm allowed to sell things with no returns. And if anything happens with something that I sell, if it's faulty or if it's not as described, then I'm happy to refund the money and take it back. But that frankly doesn't happen, because I'm very careful about only sending out really good quality stuff. But occasionally you do get something that's got broken in the post, and even though it's not my fault it's got broken, I will refund in full. But this particular this afternoon is a camera case. It's a Sony CyberShot camera case, which the man said doesn't fit his camera, and he showed a photo of him trying to put the camera in, and it clearly wasn't the right case for that camera. But when I'd listed it, it was a Sony CyberShot. It clearly said on the case Sony CyberShot, and I listed it with photographs of a ruler showing the length, all the dimensions, so he could actually see the size it was before he purchased it. And you know, there are a lot of different models in the Sony CyberShot range, so obviously the one that this case were for wasn't the one that fitted his camera. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, if he'd have measured his camera or looked at the measurements on the photograph, he would have known that. And it only sold for a couple of quid anyway. I sent it out free postage, so I literally made about £2 on it. You know, it was an old one that had been in the drawer forever. But if I'd have said yes, send it back, then, you know, it gets into, well, who pays for the postage? And it had cost me to send it to him. And I just thought, you know what? If he doesn't want it, it's only cost him a couple of quid. Why doesn't he just relist it on eBay or take it to the charity shop? So when eBay had said to me, the customer wants to return it, they actually send you a message saying that the customer wants to return it. You're not obliged to do so. So I just clicked declined. And then I get a message from him saying, I don't want to leave bad feedback, but I've got a Sony CyberShot and it doesn't fit. And it's like, well, that's not my fault. You know, the fact that you didn't look up the right model number for your camera isn't my issue. So I've now got to wait for that to play out and, you know, see if he does try and leave me bad feedback. And if he does, then I'll have to see if I can get that removed, because I don't think I've done the wrong thing. You know, when I've given him all of the measurements, and like I say, if it had cost him 20 or 30 quid, I might have thought, you know what, I'll just give him his money back and resell it. But I just thought, I can't be bothered with, you know, backwards and forwards for something that, you know, only cost 2 quid or something. So, but it's just left me feeling just a little bit stressed and tainted. but we'll see how it all pans out. And then I came in, I thought, well, I uploaded yesterday's video this morning, and I thought, well, I've been waiting all day thinking I must do this video, but I finally set up the camera to do it, and I still can't get the settings back to how they used to be before Neil changed them all. And the problem is he hasn't got a clue what he did, I haven't got a clue what he did, and I don't know how to get it back to how it was before. You know, it's one of these, it's all singing, all dancing, but it can be all automatic, and he's taken off all the automatic things and I just can't find them back on there. I might have to take it to the shop and say help. You know, I do the best I can with technology, but I'm old, I've got brain damage, and it doesn't always work. But anyway, that's my moan for today. Like I say, 2 out of 3 things resolve themselves, so I should be okay about it. It's just this last little thing, because the thing is, I fret over things, you know, little things like that. I do get stressed and worried, and I should just let it go and think, you know, in the grander scheme of things, it really doesn't matter, and I should just carry on and let it go. So that's what I intend to do next. Okay, tomorrow Oakley is 6 months old. In the morning I do my Zoom meeting, my Zoom coffee morning, so we've got that in the morning, but it's supposed to be really good weather, so in the afternoon I want to take him to the local lake and let him have his first swim. If he'll go in the water. If he won't go in the water, then I know Echo will. Bear won't, he doesn't like the water, but Echo will swim, and hopefully Oakley will get his toes wet. So that will be tomorrow's video, whether it actually uploads tomorrow or the following day. Like and subscribe, and then you'll see it when it does go on. Anyway, take care, lots of love.